Speaking of Seahawks, that's a great segue.
Let's do it.
What's going on? By the way, y'all know who it is. Do an introduction. That's Mina Kimes here on KJ All Day. Right now, the Seattle Seahawks have made big moves. There's a new coach, Mike Macdonald. Your thoughts on what's happening in Seahawks country?
I made no secret of the fact that I love the hire, advocated for the hire. I've been so impressed by what Coach Macdonald's done in Baltimore against Seattle, but especially against the sort of offenses that we've struggled against over the last couple years or so, notably. After your time. So, and I know I'm sure, and I've heard you talk about this, KJ, but like if you like linebacker play, man, his defense is fun. Now, that said, he has arguably the best linebacker duo in the NFL in Queen and Roquan. So, and they're not, well, Queen might come with him, but Roquan's not. So I'll be interested to see just kind of what it looks like at first, because that defense in Baltimore, they do so much up front, Sims, the disguise, all of that. It could take a second. And I'll say, Baltimore, it took a second. I don't know if y'all remember 2 years ago, they were playing the Dolphins, and it was like a super high-scoring game. And there was busted coverages all over the place. And I remember people in Baltimore were like, ooh, I don't know about the new young defensive coordinator. But I was like, this is about as, from Wink Martindale to him, is about as different as you can get schematically. So just give it time. And I think I would say the same thing about Seattle. Might take a second.
And I'm a big fan of Mike Macdonald, but a big question I have is, what is this surrounding cast going to look like on this coaching staff? We just talked about Chip Kelly. And I don't know if you saw.
I saw that.
I don't know if you saw Chip Kelly. I'm an advocate. I think it makes all the sense in the world. What do you think the Seahawks will look like if Chip Kelly comes and coaches our offense?
Yeah, the important thing to, I think, note with Chip is what he did in the NFL in Philadelphia, San Francisco. It's different from actually what he did in college. Most recently, I know you guys watch a lot of Pac-12, RIP. So you've seen how creative he is with the run game in particular, some of the things he does with heavier personnel. So I say that to say I don't really know what it's going to look like. But I will say this about Chip. He's been inventive everywhere he's gone, and I think that's cool. I like that they're thinking outside of the box with these hires.
I do, too.
I just wonder if Mina's going to say, let Chip cook. I just want to know if that was going to happen. Okay, so there seems to be, Mina, a trend that's happening. A lot of young coaches are being hired, but it has been successful. Zach Taylor was young. Kyle Shanahan was young. Mike McDaniel in Miami was young. Your thoughts on this whole new trend? It's almost like that's what's in style now.
Yeah, Sean McVay.
Sean McVay, yep.
I think that you never want to make generalizations when it comes to coaching hires, because sometimes a guy like Dan Campbell comes along and nobody knew what to think. And he ended up being amazing. And so it's just very unpredictable, and I don't think age necessarily dictates success. I do like, though, a lot of the coaches you mentioned, and I think this applies to Coach Macdonald as well, fresh ideas, trying something different. I like that. But the leadership piece of it is the hardest to project. One thing I loved about when Sean McVay came to the Rams, and you remember he was like 32. Everybody was like, I don't know about this. One thing I love was he brought in Wade Phillips with him as a defensive coordinator, because he said, you know what, I'm going to do the offense. I'm a first-time head coach. You help me handle the defense. And I thought that was really smart, and it was humble to some degree. When I saw that Coach Macdonald is bringing in Leslie Frazier, I loved that. Because it shows, like, okay, you know what, I'm a first-time head coach, a lot of moving parts. Let me bring in some expertise and experience to help me out.
And so personnel-wise, we see what the Niners are doing. We see what the Eagles have. We see what the Cowboys have. We look at the Seahawks football team. What is it that we need to add to this team to really go from being this 8-9 team, 9-8, to really competing like 11, 12 football games and really competing for championships? What do we need, Mina?
I think the offense is pretty stacked with the skill players. I think maybe just bolstering the offensive line and the interior would help. I'm a huge advocate of Geno Smith, so I think he just needs more protection, particularly on third down. You saw some of the pressure issues. So defensively is, I think, where you got more needs. I wouldn't be surprised if in the draft they go D-tackle. There's a lot of really nice penetrating defensive tackles in the draft. I think that's something that we could address, something that's very important with Coach Macdonald and his scheme. Linebacker. But, man, dude, it is so hard to find good off-ball linebackers these days. Like the draft, I mean, you don't really see many young players coming out because the position is so difficult to play now.
Yeah.
So that's a need.
So here's the biggest thing. Here's my big concern. Some people say you got to have the quarterback. You have to have the quarterback to take you to the promised land, do all these amazing things. Or you could build around the quarterback. Do you think we can build around Geno Smith, and then Geno Smith can take it and get things done?
I don't object to the idea of considering quarterbacks. I said the same thing last year. But I think Geno Smith is the likelihood you're going to upgrade over him, it's not that high, to be honest. I think he played really good football last year.
The year before?
Yeah, the year before he was. A lot of people have said, oh, he regressed a lot. I actually don't think that's true, frankly. I think situationally he was in some tough situations when it came to pressure. So I'm team build around Geno.
Okay.
Even if you consider maybe finding a successor.
Yes.
I'm with you on that, and I know there are a lot of people that says that Geno Smith regressed. If anything, what regressed is you can say that the offensive line wasn't that great, and 100%. You could also say that the run game, which is a pure fact, did not do what they thought that it would do. I love that example. Who's some of your favorites for next season coming into? I mean, the NFC. One thing I've learned about the NFC, it's changing.
Yeah.
Top teams, Detroit. I think Detroit is here to stay. I don't think that's a fluke or anything. Are there any teams that we're missing that nobody's talking about? An X factor that maybe Mina Kimes would bring up.
I'm very optimistic about Jordan Love and these Packers. I know, I was, man.
LaFleur did a really good job.
LaFleur's an amazing coach. The young players they drafted are really good. Like all those young skill players, I really like them. They got to figure out some things on defense. You got a new defensive coordinator coming in. They've really underperformed on that side of the ball forever. But offensively, what we saw from Love the second half of the season into the playoffs, I was really, really blown away.
I agree.
And before we let you go, Mina, Coach Carroll, my guy, everyone's guy. We love him. Just give me your favorite Coach Carroll experience, when you turned on the TV and saw him, when you came to the games and saw him, what did Coach Carroll mean to you personally, coaching the Seahawks football team?
I got a chance to meet Pete a few times over the years. Did a panel with him, interviewed with him. Always a delight. He seems like so much more than a coach. I feel like he should be a motivational speaker, like the next Tony Robbins or whatever. But I actually think what I've learned from his tenure in Seattle is I don't know as much about football as here's the thing. During the end of the Russell's time as the quarterback, I was very much let Russ cook. I thought, this offense is so frustrating. They're just trying to run the ball too much. And there were some times where I thought they ran the ball too much. But over time, and then seeing what happened after, I came to realize, there was a reason behind this offensive philosophy. A lot of it had to do with the coverages that that you wanted Russ facing, the way it affected his game. And I think just looking back on, the decisions that Pete made along the way, so many of them proved to be correct ones over time. So I actually kind of look at his tenure with some humility about my own analysis of it. The short version, Pete knows ball.
Mina Kimes, you've really made a name for yourself. You've been excellent on the trail. I'm going to say this. I like to say I was a Mina Kimes fan before most people knew. I'm telling you. And I go way back. So first, I want to tell you how good of a job you've done.
Thank you.
That's one. Two, I want to ask you, and you have done a great job in trailblazing for other women to come behind you. And, of course, just like you're coming behind others as well.
Yeah.
How important is it to continue to see more and more women fill this space?
It's awesome. I mean, I love turning on shows, radio shows, TV shows, and seeing women in different roles, because traditionally it's been more hosts and sideline reporters, but now we're having, more analysts, podcasters, radio hosts, things like that, and that's very cool. So, I like that it's just kind of become normal, honestly. You guys have some great ones in Seattle. Stacey Roast does a fantastic job,
Mar
for example.
Dooley,
so it's great. But, it's I just speaking from ESPN, it's really possible just because of the players that I work with have been so welcoming, and so they've been my biggest cheerleaders and champions. So it's kind of like we're all working together in this.
Do you get what we get when you go out there and say something bad about somebody? They hit you up like, Mina, you don't know what the hell you talking about. Who you think you talking about, Mina? do you get that, or is that just between me and G?
It's a little different for me. It's the tone of it, I would say.
Oh,
is a little
okay.
different. By the way, you say you were early on me. I feel like I was early on the KJ Wright media
Okay.
We go way back.
experience
We go
because
way back.
we did a show together for my podcast in Seattle like 6 years ago or
long.
something.
Okay.
He was still playing, and I was telling him, I said this to him afterwards. I was like, damn, he's definitely doing media because he's smooth and his analysis is fantastic. So that's been cool to watch on my end.
No, okay.
Appreciate
Well, happy for you,
Appreciate it.
Mom.
Appreciate it.
Keeping you busy.
Just we're doing the sleep training now, so I told you. So I'm trying. But
Keep it going. Keep it going.
All right.
Mina, thank you so much.
Mina, appreciate you.
thanks, guys.
Yes,
All right.
ma'am.
Thank you.